Hello Glitter Angels, it's Vivian J. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a college advice video for freshmen. So like for those that are starting college or have started already, you're more than welcome to come across this video. Or if you are an upperclassman but still kind of having a hard time remembering what first year was like. So you've clicked on this video for some college advice that you are going to need. So, I know this may seem a little redundant, but take it with a grain of salt at least. So, in the meantime, without further ado, let's get into it! Okay, so I have the advice written on my phone, although I typed it on my laptop. So I'm going to read from there. Before we begin, you are at a point where you're about to leave home and go to college. And it can be tough saying goodbye to home and leaving. Even from my perspective, it's always hard leaving home. So college is also a time where you are figuring out what you would like to do for a career, getting to find your people, prioritizing your time, so on. And do not fear though, I have some advice for college freshmen, and hopefully these pieces of advice will help you out. And I did categorize them by people, prioritizing time, etc. So we're going to start off with the people because that seems pretty straightforward. The advice I have for that is to get to know some new ones. So this is a common challenge that any college student deals with. And it doesn't hurt to at least find people that come from different backgrounds, cultures, or places they're originally from. So by doing that, you are expanding your diversity and circle anyway. Then one of the best thing I can say is to always find common ground between you and the other person. What classes do you have with that person, or what are some things that you enjoy doing together? Something like that. And then when getting to know people or trying to engage in a conversation, it's best to use follow-up questions because it keeps the interaction going. So like, you don't want to go super in depth, but you want to at least ask some follow-ups that you're really curious about and that you're wanting to know about it. Just don't hesitate to greet other students whenever you feel like you need to talk to them, because I personally believe that at least 30 minutes of interacting doesn't hurt too bad. I don't mean entirely 30 minutes, like you could spend at least like 5 or 10 minutes with somebody and then you move on to the next person. And it is okay to open up about yourself at times, because eventually that's how people would be willing to develop a strong connection with you. And even if opening up is never easy, it does take guts to do it anyway. Don't ever feel like you have to open up yourself right away. Just take your time and just work around the process, stuff like that. And then for the subcategory, we do have roommates and floor mates. So here are some advice that I could give. Respect their spaces and belongings, that's one of them. And then consider what rules and boundaries to have, and also respect them. So remember to keep your space clean as possible. At least organize your stuff and make it easier to find or access. I'm constantly having to learn this too. You guys already know I'm a junior this year, which is crazy. Anyway, so in continuation of roommates or floor mates, don't hesitate to ask the housing staff for any questions, like your RA. They're more than welcome to assist you. When it comes to interacting with floor mates or roommates, it doesn't hurt to make at least a few minutes of socializing time. Well, I'm constantly having to work on that too, because I'm typically like the go student when it comes to trying to get stuff done. But really, the downside is not having enough time to socialize. So like, at least a few minutes of socializing is no biggie. Next advice. You're more than welcome to join your roommates or floor mates in what activity they're doing. However, if it is something that you're not interested in, that is totally okay. And it is okay if roommates don't work out. It isn't your fault, first off, and that's a sign that it's time for a change. Things like that can happen anytime. Yeah, what I learned from my first year is it's okay if things don't work out. It's not your fault. No need to blame yourself for that. You are there for your friends and they are there for you. I think I might have said this in my how to interact with others and how to get comfortable with them. that was a video I did, so you could definitely check that out. But it is so true. You're there for your friends and they are there for you. Keep that in mind. I probably might write this a couple times down on a note. So that's the advice I have for people, and now we're going to move on to classes. Okay, so the next category is classes to begin with. So the first piece of advice I have for you is to speak with your advisor before the course deadlines come. So that occurs before the start of fall semester and spring semester. Well, depending on what college you're in. So the earlier the better. It's best to select your courses that you know you're going to be doing for your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, kind of. So like consider the courses that you're interested in. So, and you want to confirm earlier as well. So when looking at classes, it is recommended to read the description based on what they might teach. Like that's what I do beforehand so that I won't be terrified. And if it's something I'm interested in, good. And if not, that's okay, just don't worry about it. Third piece of advice is to make sure the classes you are selecting are considered important for your major or field of study. So you're more than welcome to do some courses outside of your major too. Or in fact, if you're able to double major, awesome. If you're considering interdisciplinary or sticking to one, that's still great. And then consider being true to yourself and some benefits on what you might get from those classes. So like, even if a course may not be relevant to what you're studying, you could at least find out what you've learned from there, whether it's from the professor or from the concepts that you've talked about, all those things. And it is also best to engage as much as you can, because you could literally prove to your professor that you're more engaging in your class than you've ever been before in your life. At least that's what I do. And guess what? They were correct. And also, if a class is not working out for some reason, notify your advisor and explain what's the problem. So again, it's okay if classes may not work out. That is totally fine. It's like, hey, it's time to make a change. It's like, I could either take up to like at least 4 to 5 classes, and that won't really hurt. So at least like, in general, trust the process that you know that it'll be okay if you make changes to your schedule, but not too many. At least some change of schedule is okay. Even if you don't think that you're a good fit at first, those classes will eventually be a good fit. So like, there come times where your professor might say like, oh, you seem interested in this subject, why don't you take this one? And you could choose to accept it or don't accept it. It's all up to you, really. Next advice I have is making sure that you're not missing anything important. So make sure you're not falling behind, make sure you're at least you're right where you need to be, or at least close to where you need to be. Lastly, and importantly, classes don't define you as smart or not smart, and I'm constantly having to learn that too. I mean, I'm a perfectionist kind of person. I just don't like failing or just being disapproved. Like, I hate failing in general. So, like, as I've said, classes don't define you as smart or not smart. It's like, the only person that can identify who you are is you. It's like, you can't control what people identify you as. Only you control your own identity and your own self. So now we're going to move on to prioritizing time. Well, prioritizing time management and self-care, because those are also important when you're in college. So first things first is to keep a planner and where you can write down your schedule and other priorities you have to take care of. And then your health and safety is the main important thing. It is always number one. Next, it is not a bad idea to keep post-it notes in your planner, because that is for reminders whenever you have meetings, events, or whatever the case could be. I mean, I often put post-it notes in my planner so that I won't forget them. Don't hesitate to ask your professors for clarification or help on an assignment or project, or if you're unsure about something. They're there to help you as well. And also make sure to make time for yourself, which is another thing that isn't easy to do, but it's important to anyway. So reach out to someone and discuss what is happening and what problems are you dealing with. They're more than welcome to help you in any way. So it's okay to reach out to a counselor, importantly. You're more than welcome to discuss whatever's on your mind, what problems you have, all those things. They're here to help you and support you in any way possible. And then next, when planning, it is best to divide between what is on your radar or important and what can wait. Don't leave things until last minute. So you would have to consider like any tests or quizzes to study for, any essays to write, or any assignments I have to do, because eventually your top priorities come first. And then make sure you're staying on top of everything and not falling behind. And don't ever cram in last minute. And also don't do things until the last minute, because those are recipes for disaster. Since college is more than just academics, it is also important to add some fun activities according to what you like to do. Don't hesitate to go to events or gatherings where other students are. I know I might have had days where I've been super busy and not making much time for socializing. At least it doesn't hurt for me to go to an event that is hosted by other students, and that gives me an opportunity to reconnect with friends and meet some new ones. At least a little bit of joy will not hurt you. And whenever there are times where you feel like there's so much happening all at once, so be sure to pause and notify professors. Don't hesitate to ask for any extensions or time adjustments. And you can also tell them how you're progressing through despite when things get chaotic. At least tell them how you're progressing, or like give them updates, really. It doesn't hurt to do that anyway. During times when you don't have a class, that is one of those best times to continue working on what you have to do, or if you need a break. So like what I like to do after dealing with 2 or 3 classes for a day, I like to give myself a break first. Okay, so for general college tips, these may be redundant kind of, but you eventually get an idea of what college is like and you'll get used to it. First things first is to remember to pack the essentials that you're going to need, like stuff for school, personal stuff, toiletries, clothes, and other necessities. And it is best to adjust the clothes you have as the weather gets colder or warmer. Whenever my parents come to DePauw to visit, they recommend that I would bring back home some clothes that I may not need as the weather gets colder or warmer, whatever the case might be. And then you could also bring some stuff back home and bring in some items for your dorm or for you to use. And then whenever you feel uncomfortable about a situation or where you're just not safe or hesitant to do something, just get out of there. Don't even think about taking a risk that isn't worthwhile doing. You know how they say, like, make good choices? I know that's really redundant, but seriously, your safety is your number one out of everything else. It's okay if things don't go perfectly to plan. That can be frustrating, but eventually you get back up and you keep going. And the next piece of advice, I'm not sure if a lot of you might have told you this, but stick to be who you want to be. It's like, why pretend to be something you're not? You can't just make somebody something they're not, and people can't just make you something that you're not. You just stick to who you really want to be in life. So, like, you know how when talking mental health, you might have heard about, like, here are things you can control and some things you cannot control. So don't worry about what you cannot control. And next piece of advice, you are who you are, and people cannot change that. Only you can change your identity. I know I might have said this in the beginning, but really, You are who you are, and people can't change that. Another good piece of advice I might have got from your time in college has to do with how you utilize it and how you make the most out of college. So you don't want to regret the things that you didn't get to do or what you have not done. So make these memories count and worth remembering anyway. And most importantly of all, enjoy yourself and have fun at being in college. So that's the general college tips that I've provided. So hopefully all of these pieces of advice have really helped you out. If you ever need any help in college, it's okay to ask for it. It's better to ask for any kind of help than no help at all, right? Right. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, don't do anything at all. And make sure you subscribe for more interesting content, and also turn on the bell notification so that you're one of the first to catch up on my videos. Love y'all, and peace out. Bye!